morning. This is Jill coming to you from Jill George's. This is my podcast, Followers Fake or Real. This is where I create an anchor podcast free for you, if you shall, to create your own podcast, and I use the desktop version. So I'm just going to start quick before I start recording. Your transitions, history, messages, record and upload. So with regards to what I'm doing, I use a transition before all of my episodes, before a segment, into my final, and at the end. So transition, my first one I use is Heist. You can use any of them. I'll just pop this in and then we begin recording. Make sure these lines move. Good morning. This is Jill coming to you from jillgeorges.com. Welcome to my podcast, episode 33, Followers Fake or Real, where we scrutinize social media accounts, personal, business, or websites, and we call them out, whether we think they're fake or real, or we educate you and help you make the call. So I'm a little bit late today, maybe something like 36 hours. I'm also recorded for a new podcast the concept of the bookseller who has numerous years experience and just talking about books. So I gave that a little bit of a break today, as well as social media. And then I listened to someone on social media who's a bit of a G-er-upper. He's from originally, well, I don't know if it's originally, but previously Sydney, now on the Gold Coast. His name is Craig. So I was going to talk about him quickly today. And but first, I'm going to talk about the business. It was a Twitter account and something that you might find interesting if you're a writer. So let's get into it. All right, now, welcome back. Continuing on with the podcast. As you can see, the first transition that we had here was Heist. Then I've added, by just pressing plus, the next segment or the beginning segment. Then I go into a new transition, which I use is Glurch. Just a sound. Give you a little bit of a taster. And then you can see you've got transition, first segment, transition into the next. So I'm going to record, and you need to see these waves moving, and they are. So let's start. Welcome back. So as I mentioned before, I was looking at a business account. It's a Twitter account, and they are screenplay readers. The tag they use is at Script Coverages. They've been there inception since 1999. They've read over 13,000 scripts and provided script coverage for screenwriters and filmmakers. And they say, let us read yours and help make it more sellable. So they've got over 10,000 followers and just under 7,500 following. But it takes you to their website. There's a couple of things I wanted to show you. So one is their webpage, where they have readers on board that help you improve your screenplays, shorts, TV pilots, whatever you have. And they have a charge here. So it says here, our readers are working screenwriters themselves and have worked in the development for major studios and producers like. They've got their charges here, and the script coverage includes feedback and notes, logline, category analysis grid, Bechdel test, recommendations, and they've also got some additional script servicing, like extensive script notes, formatting, proofreading, or sitcom short coverage, and it gives you 40 pages max. They've got some charges there. They've got the instructions on how you go about it, and why they choose screenplay readers. So why? They also have on their webpage talk about themselves, who they are. The chap who is the founder is Brian O'Malley. It says that they're from California. Basically, it just gives you a bit of a blurb on each one of their screenplay readers and the experience that they have. But the other thing that I wanted to point out was the experience here. It was in a article on IdeaMensch, and it was interviewing Brian O'Malley. So you can go to ideamensch.com/Brian with an I hyphen O'Malley, 2 L's. And I'll just talk about this article a little bit. So I just want to talk about this article a little bit. So he's having an interview, but he talks about where his idea comes from, where he comes from. But the one thing that he does talk about is failure. And I'm just going to scroll down to there. And he says, early on, I didn't spend enough time vetting my readers. So I found myself in constant hiring mode. Back in early 2000 to 2002 or so, I brought aboard readers with great experience and chops, but who eventually started turning in bad work. At that time, my company was one of only a handful online, so I missed a great opportunity to add more folks to my army of long-term customers because I was too busy constantly scrambling to replace readers. The lesson I learned: vet your employees. Hard. I now spend a lot more time getting to know potential employees' work and work ethic before bringing them aboard, so that I'm not constantly battling employee turnover. It's more work up front, but saves a lot more work over the long run. So I wanted to read that out to you because, that's one of the things that I believe helps us become successful, whether it's monetarily or whatever, is going through this failure. And I'll mention to you that in my next segment when I talk about Craig. But I just thought you might want to hear about that. He's sort of had to hit that old rock bottom and learn a huge lesson, especially in business, in order for it to become successful. And his was vetting his script readers and spending more time and making sure that what they came up with in the end was quality. And in order to do that, he had to spend time. And it might have been painfully long and hard, but probably worth it. So anyway, that was at Script Coverages. That's on Twitter. And as I mentioned, screenplayreaders.com on his website. If you're a writer and you've got some work that you want to submit, or if you just want to ask them some questions, I'm not going to endorse the site, but it doesn't look bad, but you make up your own mind. Welcome back. Just before we get into it, I just wanted to show you how we do this. So I did a couple of takes before, and the first one was in 5 minutes and 33, and the second one was in 2 lots. Now, the reason I do that, if you don't already know, is that I have to do it in less than 3 minutes for each segment, so I can convert the segment to video with subtitling if I want to use it in my social media marketing. So I thought to myself, should I keep it at 5 minutes 33 and then just use something in the last segment? Or should I actually just cut them down to every 3 minutes? It used to be 5 minutes. I don't know why they changed it. I'm waiting for them to come back with 5 minutes. 5 minutes is so much better. It gives you a good amount of time to do a good segment. But I'm not from the radio industry, so I suppose they are limited to 3. I'm not sure. You can let me know. But, as I mentioned, I used Glurch, And then the first segment here, you can look at the timings. So this is the first one here. So I pop that in, and it should be in. And then I pop that in, and it should be in. And then I go into my next transition, which again will be Glurch. I'm just going to touch upon Craig. Going to record, start recording. Make sure you can see the waves, and record. Welcome back, and as mentioned, I was just going to quickly go and talk about the chap that I follow, and I think he follows me, I don't know, but I follow him. I find him very inspiring. His name is Craig O'Sullivan. He's got just over 11,500 followers, and he's got just under 4,000 following. He's a communicator, entrepreneur. He has a podcast on iTunes, and he has a segment that he puts out called Just Cause. And it's just interesting. It's more about metaphors and then how you apply it. And then what he does it in a minute. I don't know how he does it, because I think what he's doing is he's bringing this out on Instagram, and you've only got so much time to do it on here. So I'm just seeing if I can bring one up for you, and I need you to be able to obviously hear it. Yeah. So this one is just more, what do you call it? Visual and not really sound. I think it's here. Might be a bit loud.
Are you teaching people secrets to success? I'm Craig O'Sullivan. There's a museum in Hollywood called the Museum of Failures, which shows failed and outdated technology. We as humans learn best from our failures. So if we as coaches, consultants, or teachers are educating people on how to achieve success, it's imperative that we also teach how to handle, how to overcome, and learn from our failures. So share your failures and how you've overcome your failures. Who knows? Maybe they'll make a museum featuring you. I'm Craig, and that's Just Cause.
So that's Craig. And what he also does is he goes live every day, and I don't always watch it every day, but today I caught his one talking about failures. And I've talked about my failures before. I've been through a huge business failure where you have to learn where your failure comes from. And, there's a few areas where I failed there, but it just helps you listening to him and just taking you back and not dwelling over the failure, but just having it consume you because you want it to just make you a better person, make you a better business person, and just grab life by the balls. So thanks, Craig. Craig O'Sul is his tag on Insta, and check him out. So here we are at the final segment. I just wanted to show you the last time. So I had this recording from Craig. So I just popped that in. There we go. And my last transition I use is popcorn. So you just have to keep scrolling down. There we are. And that's really how I end my, not end. And there we have it. So then I start recording the last segment. Make sure you can hear the waves. Sorry, see the waves. Well, thank you for listening today. Don't forget we're brought to you by JillGeorges.com, the website of Empowering Apparel. Everything today was relevant and also intermingled. Even though they were talking about screenwriting, which has nothing to do with JillGeorges.com or even Craig O'Sul, the underlying thing that I wanted to talk about was failure. Everybody who I was talking to has gone through failure. Maybe we've all been through failure, and really depends on you, on how you adjust your life and your mindset and your attitude and bring yourself back out of it. So, I mentioned going through my business and failing. I am constantly trying to readjust my attitude and mindset in bringing myself back out. And one of these ways is with my podcast. One of these ways is going to go with my new ventures going forward. Always having something in the pipeline. And just because you do one thing, and this is something that I definitely agree with Craig on, as in Craig O'Soul from Insta, is that just because you have one thing doesn't mean you can't have another and another and another project. I know that you can seem overwhelmed with all of this stuff that you've got to do, but in order to be successful, you have to work hard, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to work hard. So thank you very much for listening. Thanks for script coverages on Twitter, Craig O'Soul on Instagram, and thanks to you, my listeners, for listening, and to my listeners on YouTube for listening. Remember to subscribe, like my podcast, ask me questions, DM me, call into Anchor. Remember, it's free and you can still call in. People do. I'll talk about one of the recent calls that I've had in another episode. And anyway, I'll be back with my next episode 34. But as for now, don't forget to tell your friends, family, foe, get them to listen. Hope they get something from it. I certainly do. And until then, we'll see you then. Bye. Okay, let's just finish off the episode. So, we have here popcorn. As I mentioned, this is going to buffer. So normally what will happen, because I want this to be able to do it, is I need to save the episode. And when we save the episode, it will bring up the details of what the title of the episode is, and then underneath it'll just have a short blurb. And then what you do is you go publish. And of course, you'll have Anchor connected to Twitter and Facebook account. Here we are. So I go here, add that in. So as you can see, that was my last segment. My last transition that I used is West. Sometimes I put music in there. Today I won't do that. I'll just pop West in there just to show you. There we go. So they're all of our episodes. Save the episode. V is the one that I'm doing. So this is 32. And I go thanks to script coverages and Craig O'Soul. So that's what I'll write. I'll go thanks to script coverages on Twitter and Craig O'Soul. Hold on, Craig O'Sull. I think it's 2 L's. Yep. For enabling me to review your social media accounts on my podcast and others, which I write here et al. So pretty much that's what I wrote. I was supposed to write Craig O'Soul on Instagram. Don't forget all the things that you also write in here. SEO from Google picks up things, so I'm hoping that's how it works anyway. I'm not an authority. But anyway, and then you just press publish, and it's published. So that's how you do it. So I hope you got something from it, and I will look forward to the next time that you're listening to my next podcast, episode 33, Followers Fake or Real. And until then, I will say ciao for now.